Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jen Lowry Writes podcast. Look who I have sitting with me right now, Lisa Regan. Lisa Regan is a USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the Detective Josie Quinn series. Look, see this? Love.
Put it over here.
As well as several other crime fiction titles. Her novels have been translated into several other languages. She has a bachelor's degree in English and Master of Education degree from Bloomsburg University. She lives just outside of Philadelphia with her husband, daughter, and her Boston Terrier named Mr. Phillip, who you can check out on Instagram. Love. She is a member of the International Thriller Writers, Mystery Writers of America, Sisters in Crime, and Crime Writers Association. She is currently under contract to write a total of 20 Detective Josie Quinn novels. Book number 10 in the series, Breathe Your Last, released on December the 9th, 2020, and debuted at number 1 on the Wall Street Journal's fiction ebook bestseller list. And book 11 in the series releases in April 2021, right around the corner. Welcome, Lisa.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
So, Lisa, I had to reach out to you because when I came across top thriller writers, your name popped right up into my feed. And I was like, I'm going to take this chance and I'm going to email you and say, I would love to connect. And you were so gracious to just connect with me. So thank you for that.
Thank you for asking me.
And first tell me all about you with Josie Quinn, because I've read book 1 and absolutely love the character you have crafted in her.
Thank you.
To know it's a 20-book series. Wow.
We hope, yeah. As long as readers don't get tired of her, but so far they're not. So she came out of this idea. I was pitching to my publisher, Book Auteur. They wanted a detective series, and I had a couple of things laying around that they weren't that they liked, but they weren't crazy about. And then we talked about doing a detective series where the detective is really kind of rogue and doesn't always follow the rules and is a little bit brash and abrupt, but really dead set on justice. And maybe that detective has some flaws or some bad habits or some demons. And initially we were talking about a male detective. And I said, well, I would love to do that, but I want to write it as a female because I just thought that would be more interesting. So, I did all the stuff that you kind of see a lot in this genre, which is, she's got a problem with alcohol. She needs some anger management. She tries to stay within the rules, but it's very difficult for her. And she's got a lot of emotional baggage from a crappy childhood. So that's what I try to do. Now, you've read book 1. And she's very brash and abrasive and a little over the top in this one. And that was done on purpose, because what happens is with each book, she learns more about herself and about the world and about how to conduct herself. So over time with each book, she becomes a little more thoughtful and less brash and a little better at managing her anger. And I feel like that gives readers a good chance to kind of be there with her during that growth process. And each case changes her a little bit.
And I could even see the growth in her throughout, even so no spoiler alerts. Start screaming, Lisa, but even at the end, she holds her tongue. There's something she wants to say. There's something that she would love to do, but she's standing in this room and she kind of lets someone else kind of take the lead a little bit because they had already discussed that might be the better angle. And so she released a little bit of that power and that jump in and I'm going to do this. But what you've got a character with some great instincts. And you've got a character with some spot on questioning and die hard. I'm going to go after this, why are you telling me to stop doing something when you know that's not me?
Right. And she's kind of hardwired to seek justice. Like I can't remember the exact line, but she basically says at one point, I'm not built this way.
Yeah.
It's just not in her to walk away when she knows that people are being hurt or harmed, or if people are being put in jeopardy. And she has been so damaged in her life that there's almost this element of I have nothing to lose. So if I have to put my life on the line to make sure that other people are going to be okay, I don't mind doing that. So she kind of always runs headfirst into the danger without thinking too much about it, just because that's how she's wired.
And there was something else about her too, with when you made this character to where early on you find out, wait, she's suspended. Like it's right there it's right in our Goodreads review. So it's right at the top. I'm not giving too much away, guys. So you've got it where, well, wonder what she did.
Right.
Wonder what happened. But you keep reading because you've got to find this out. You got to find out what was it that got her so caught up where she did lose some kind of control and became unprofessional. Then when you find out, then that question goes, I completely understand the moves that she made with how she was interacting within her world.
Right.
Like it all clicks and it all starts to make sense. And it's like, okay, there we go. There's another layer of her where that protective nature.
Right. Yeah. And it could only be something like, if you read the book, you'll find out what it was that she got suspended for. And as I didn't actually know what that was as I was writing the book. And as I got further into the book, I was like, it has to be like, she's so dedicated to her job that it has to be something so bad, so egregious that it would make her lose that kind of control, the kind of control that would jeopardize her job, since that's really the main focus of her life. So that kind of, and when you read the book, you'll see why that something like what she encountered would make her lose control that way.
And so now I've picked up that you didn't do the whole plotting, and I know every chapter outline of what's happening with this series. How did that work for you then?
Well, what I had was like this 9-page proposal, and it was kind of it was from beginning to end, but there were a lot of details that I hadn't filled out yet. And so I just knew at the beginning of the book that she was on suspension and that she hated every second of it. And
miserable. She was miserable.
I was talking to somebody about this book the other day, and I was laughing about how, in the book, somebody says to her, like, why don't you take up knitting or something? And she's just like, I can't.
And then she makes the joke later, though, that she went by to get her knitting supplies. I was like, okay, now, come on. Nah, we know where you were.
Yeah. So I just knew that she wasn't capable of turning this off, this part of her that is obsessed with her work. And so there were little details like that as I went through the proposal and wrote chapter by chapter that I had to fill out as I wrote. Because I plan most things, but there are some things that I don't know what they are till I get there. I had a scene in book 11 that I just is in editing now. It's finished. But as I was writing the first draft, something terrible has happened, which is what happens in crime novels. And Josie is standing outside the hospital, and her chief of police comes out to say something to her. And I had to get up from my desk at that moment and do something for my daughter. And the whole time I'm like, oh, I wonder what he's going to say to her. I didn't even know. I had no idea. And I couldn't wait to get back to my desk to find out what it was. And I was surprised. So sometimes I plan everything, and sometimes the characters, I just let it happen. They do what they're going to do organically.
So with a series like you have, so that's so well developed, like, do you kind of have like a basic premise already put in? Like, this is that big crime thing. This will be the big crime thing here. Did you work that, or did you just let it naturally come from just the organic way that things can grow?
Well, the funny thing is that the first book that I wrote in that series, I actually had a 3-book deal for the series at first. And so I was just like, well, this is never going to take off. So, I'll write a complete arc across those 3 books. And that way, when it comes time to renew the contract and the books aren't doing well, and the publisher is like, we don't want to renew, then I'll at least have given my readers a complete arc across those 3 books. Because never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that it would go further than that. So yeah, but then the first 3 books did so crazy well that then the publisher, they came back and they wanted more and more books, and I was like, oh my God, now I have to
now the real work is going to start.
Something else. So now what we try to do is we will go like 3 or 4 books ahead. And so each book has its own mystery. So technically you could pick up any one of the books and read it because each case that she solves in each book is independent of all of the others. But across the series, there are things that happen amongst the series' regular characters. And so if you haven't read them in order, sometimes it can be confusing, or it just won't mean as much to you.
Right. Or you'll just have a little missing piece of the puzzle, but it's okay that you can continue to move through it.
Yeah. I mean, like say in book 9, if there's a character that you didn't meet yet in book 1, or the relationship between Josie and that character has changed since book 1, then I'll drop a little paragraph in there or 2 to try to catch you up. But I haven't found, from what readers have told me, I haven't found that it affects the reading experience. I have plenty of people that pick the series up at book 6 or 8 or 10, and they're fine with it. So that's what.
And you had a different cover for Vanishing Girls, which was at the beginning, and then now it has shaped into this, which looks really uniform across your series.
It does. They're all, I have a couple here. I always have like a creepy house. I got for book 7, Cold Heart Creek, I got a boat, which was really exciting. I love the first cover that they did, but it didn't do well with readers. And so within the first 2 weeks, the publisher came to me and said, we're going to try something a little different. We've got this lovely blue color and this creepy old barn, and we're going to put that on the cover and see how it does. And the book, the sales went through the roof after that. So, and it was the same book. So it's just the cover. As much as I love that cover, it just wasn't resonating with readers. So
that whole eeny, meeny, miny thing that was on there. It was very clever. And it's like you could use that, though, for promotion or just a different spin when you're showing the book. One of my friends is a graphic designer, and she owns her own press. And she made me the cover for The Sunday Killer. And she's got it all like dark. And it does have an old barn on it. And it's just the black, red, it pops. It has the maze because it's almost like with the detective is trying to figure it out, and they're like all in this maze. It's just a really cool cover. I don't know if that's what the publishing company, I'm going to share it with them and say, look what my friend gifted to me.
Yes.
She gave it to me in December, and she was just playing around one day, and my jaw just dropped. I was like, you made this like right now? She's like, oh yeah, this was way before I even got the publishing contract, when she just read it as a beta.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I want to just share this. And I was like, oh, I love it. So even if the publishing company doesn't accept it, I'll still use that. I'll still show like promotion. Because I loved it. And I got the flowers on the front, the weed on the front, like because she will bring up things about picking the flowers in the book and things like that. So I got the symbolism of it, and I thought that's really cool. I thought it was cool, but I love these too. Like
I love them both. Yeah.
like, so I'm like a big cover girl. Like, I seriously love covers of books. Like, they draw me in.
Yeah.
And I love the way that your whole series just pops. Like,
and they look kind of the same. So when you look across the row, you can say, okay, all of those are Lisa's, and oh wait, that one's not mine.
Yeah. And so for you, when you first started out, saying, I don't really think this may go anywhere. Like, was that just maybe what you feel maybe all authors might experience when they kind of release their baby in the world? Or do you find that?
Yeah, I think so. But also I had written a couple of, 5 books before that. And so, I mean, I had a pretty solid reader following, but publishers just weren't crazy about the books, and then they didn't sell as well, I guess. I mean, I was happy with it because I had readers who were super excited and engaged, but they weren't selling well enough for publishers to continue books in any given series. So I had written 2 books that my first book, Finding Claire Fletcher, was published by a small press. I got the rights back. I published it myself. And then I wrote a sequel. And then Thomas and Mercer picked up that old book and the sequel. And they did well, but they didn't do well enough for me to write more books in the series. So, and the same thing had happened with my, what is my 4th and 5th book, or my 3rd and 5th book, Hold Still and Cold Blooded, which are also related. And so I just figured, it's really hard to get a series off the ground. And the competition out there is so incredible that I think sometimes it's just really hard to stand out. I mean, I read other writers every day, and I'm blown away by the talent that's out there. So
I'm blown away by you.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I'm reading you and blown away at how you just crafted this world. And it was like, I talked to my kids about it. This was a great starting point for me to talk with them too. I mean, we've talked about issues of sex trafficking and things like that. And I was like, man, can you imagine this is happening in the book? Like, yeah, Mama, this could be happening in our town, and you would never know. Like, so I'm sitting here kind of like paraphrasing to my 18-year-old and my 13-year-old topics from your book, but they felt so real. Like, we know that this, like, the research that you have to put behind each book too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Makes it where it's a standout, like what stands you out. Like, to me, it's the research, it's the thought, the intention, everything behind your work. But you are just a beautifully crafted author who can get those, you can string those words along that make you feel the heart of the book.
Oh,
like the heart of the character. Like, you can feel Josie's good intent. Even when she may have a weak moment, you're still cheering for her because you know that it's going to get better for her. You know she's going to get her time. It's going to be due. So I love to hear, like, over time, she is going to grow and mature in that kind of professional world. Like, I can see that happening for her, even with all the devastation that happens. Man, crime thrillers.
Oh, they're the worst. Yeah.
Like, really? Like, crime thriller. So when you first started, did you always know you wanted to be like within this genre and stay within this lane?
No, actually, when I was, I think yes, but I didn't know it. Okay. When I was 11 years old, I was already writing, and I wrote my first book on this old typewriter that one of my parents bought for me. It was 140,000 words, and it was a murder mystery. And I can remember thinking at 11 years old, oh, I can't wait until I'm old enough where this is acceptable.
11 years old, Lisa.
Yeah.
140,000 words.
Yes.
At 11. Do you still have it?
I do. It's it's on paper, obviously. And it's horrifically written. I mean, it's so bad.
But I bet it is absolutely precious to be
Yeah,
able to have that beginning for you. Like
yeah,
I had the old brother typewriter in 8th grade that had the little screen on it.
yes, yes.
That was what I got for my 8th grade graduation. My mom was like so supportive, but I wish I had all my old stuff. I was writing, I don't know if you remember the Sweet Valley High series work.
Oh, yes, those are my favorite.
Okay,
Yes.
so Lisa, I was writing about a group of friends who were kind of like Sweet Valley High, but they were like college freshmen at UNC Chapel Hill. And now my son's at UNC Chapel Hill as a freshman. But I was writing that in 8th grade, writing these cutesy little boyfriend girlfriend friendship drama, and you were writing the murder mystery.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Hey, we have our own thing. Like, were you watching a lot of shows, or did you have a lot of influences? Did you read a lot of like Nancy Drew growing up, or?
I did. Well, like the only cartoon that I ever really loved was Scooby-Doo, which was like all about the mystery.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I read Nancy Drew. I read the old hardback ones, which I didn't really love that much, but then when I want to say in middle school, they came out with a new, like more modernized version of the Nancy Drew series in these little thin paperbacks for kids just my age. And I mean, I just devoured them. I love them so much. And then as I got older, I would be reading because I was like horrible at math, but my reading level was always like, ahead. And so my parents were like, you're bored with these. You've read all the young adult books and you're bored. So I started to read books with more adult themes in them at a pretty young age. So
yeah, I was Stephen King at 13.
Okay, I was V.C. Andrews. I did read Stephen King, though.
V.C. Andrews at 13. Like, okay, I'm 45. Yeah. I'm dating myself. But the Heaven series, I don't know if you read the Heaven series.
I read it. Yes. I read them all. Yeah.
Like, for real, that Heaven series, I like it better. I mean, I love the Flowers in the Attic series. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's got my heart. But that Heaven series, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love them all. Like, loved it. And so, did you want to be a writer when you were reading and just like soaking all of this wonderful life up?
Well, and this is so strange, but I wanted to be an astronaut. And I don't know why, because I was terrible at math and science. But I was obsessed with that movie, Space Camp. And then I had this scheme that I would save up to go to space camp. And I started to write poems and stories about being an astronaut. And then I can remember one day looking down at my notebook. It was like my 56th poem about being an astronaut. And I thought, I don't think I really want to be an astronaut. I think I just want to write stuff. Like, I enjoy writing about it more than I really want to do it. And so then after that, I just started writing everything that came into my head.
And just think of all the other worlds you've traveled to. You're the author astronaut. That is you. You have traveled to the unknown because you start with a blank page.
Yeah.
And just have crafted these worlds. So when you got your first publishing contract, like, how was that experience? Like, looking back, how long queries? How was that? Tips for people just starting out? Like, what was that journey like for you?
Well, it was very difficult for me. I did not have the typical journey by any stretch of the imagination. And like everyone I knew was having the typical journey, except for me. I had written what became my first book, Finding Claire Fletcher, and I queried over 150 agents, and I got over 150 rejections. Most of them were good. They were like, oh, this book is great. This book is a home run, but no thanks. And then I finally got somebody it took me 4 years. I got somebody to sign me, and we went on submissions, and she was like, this book is fantastic. It's not going to be long. And 2 years later, we're at the bottom of the, I don't want to say the bottom of the barrel, but we're running out of options. I had been rejected by over 24 publishers. And again, they loved the book. They just didn't want to publish it. And so then this new press opened, and a friend of mine got a contract with them. And so I said to my agent, well, we should approach them. I mean, at this point, we really don't have anything to lose. And she was a little bit hesitant, as I think all agents are with new presses, because you don't know how it's going to go. But she pitched to them, and they loved the book, and they took it. And my second book, which I had written but not done anything with yet, and the experience was wonderful. And there's nothing. I have to say, no matter what happens after your book comes out or in your career, there is absolutely nothing that can take away the feeling of holding your first book in your hands for the first time. I mean, it's just incredible. It's the most incredible. I remember flipping through the pages and saying to my husband, "Those are my words."
Love it. Love it. And so now that you can look back and you've got all of this, collection behind you, like other than that first book, knowing that that's there, what are some other highlights that you've had throughout your career?
Oh my goodness, so many. Well, one, and probably the one, and I don't think most writers would say this, but for me, because it's a daily gift to me, is all the writers that I've made friends with over the years during this journey. That is the number one highlight for me every day. I mean, every single day I'm in touch with them. I've made lifelong friends. We message each other, we support each other, we commiserate with each other, we give each other advice, we read each other's stuff. So to me, that you can take away all this other stuff. That's probably the most valuable thing and the biggest highlight for me. But other than that, like the first time that I made the USA Today list was it was surreal. It was absolutely, it's just so, I mean, now Josie Quinn hits that list every time. And I keep waiting for somebody to like email me and be like, oh, this isn't real.
But it is real.
I'm
here to tell you, we are documenting this right now. All of this is real. I have researched it and I could back it up. And so that day, like, how did you get that notice? Were you keeping your eye on the prize? Were you shocked, stunned, and just like, wait, how does this happen?
I was so shocked. It would never have occurred to me to check. Not in a million years. It's not something that I ever thought would ever happen. So it was like the furthest thing from my mind. I knew that the sales that with that book and that week were more than I'd ever had. And I was just thrilled with that. And then my friend, Dana Mason, who is another author, she writes romance. And we've been friends for probably about 10 years now. She actually messaged me the screenshot of it. It was 6:00 at night. We were getting ready to sit down for dinner. And at first I was like, this can't be right. And I might have even messaged her back and said, did you make this? Like, do you have a really good photo editor?
Love it.
Yeah, I just couldn't. And then we were like, my husband and my daughter and I were like woohooing. And then I started texting like everybody I knew. And I was like, listen, I need you to go online and just see if it shows up on your computer, because if it comes up on your computer, then it must be real.
Lisa, I love this story so much. And the value of friendships, you are so right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I am right. Like, we are one accord with that, because what I've experienced these past 2 years, regardless of the books, regardless of of whatever. It's the friends that we're texting today.
Yes.
And we're taking screenshots of my
Yes.
friend's book who's like, we did the screenshot today. She sent me a screen. Like, it's life. That's the beauty of this world. And that authors really understand. People will say this is an isolated
No, I
type
don't think
life.
so.
I say no. I
No.
say authors are just amazing, quirky, lovely human beings
Yes.
that share a common passion for books, for story, and we are pretty much obsessed with that kind of life. And it's great to have someone to share that with.
It is, yeah.
Like that same commonality. And tell me about all of your different associations. So that was a decision. Like, I'm a member of SCBWI because of the children's book world that I live in. And I've not looked at, the Mystery Writers of America and all of that yet. So I'm learning from you, Lisa. Like, when you have on your bio everything that you're belonging to, talk to the audience about how important that is, or how valuable that is for you, and what's that done for you.
Well, I think it's really valuable, and I communicate with. I used to meet, but not anymore because of the pandemic. But I communicate with a lot of writers in my genre who are just starting out, and I will always say to them, "You should go see if your area has a local chapter of MWA or Sisters in Crime," because when I first, I think it was ahead of my first book coming out, I saw that Sisters in Crime had a local chapter, and I went and joined, and they were just the kindest and most enthusiastic and most helpful group of people I've ever met. I've been there now since 2012. I'm the treasurer this session, and my experience with them, and then a writer I met there was like, "Oh, you should also join MWA," and she got me involved with them. And all the groups, International Thriller Writers, Crime Writers Association, some of them don't have local chapters, but they do have so many resources to connect you with other writers. And, it's just like what you said. Writers, in my experience, are so generous with their time, their ideas, their attention, everything. And in my experiences, writers will do anything to help you. So, and whatever that means, whether it's beta reading or listening to you go on about plot problems or promoting your book on their, social media, whatever you need, I find that other writers are there for you. So I've met some of my best friends in those groups, and Sisters in Crime, especially since the pandemic started. Two of the members of my chapter and we have gotten together every day for an hour and a half writing sprint on Zoom. So every day we hop on, we talk a little bit about where we are, what we're working on. Then one of us sets a timer for 20 minutes and we write. And then, whoever's doing the timing will come back on and say, that's 20 minutes. And if one of us has run into a problem, we'll talk it out. And we usually go like an hour and a half. It really keeps me going. It gives me a purpose especially during the pandemic. It really, like, I know I have to be in front of this computer at 1:00 and they're going to help me with any plot problems and keep me going. So it's been really valuable.
There are tons of us writers out there that are on YouTube doing that and doing writing sprints together.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, because it is so motivating, and it's fun when you're typing and writing along, and you've got your author best friends out there doing the same thing. So we do that too. There's been a few times when I've had multiple of my friends on there, but just recording it and allowing the readers and other writers to get a chance to do it too. That's amazing. Like, we've met other writers that way when we've been doing, our sprints online. But yeah, so when I reached out to you, my whole concept was, I have romance writer friends that we write inspirational romance. I've got children's book friends and I've got a crew of those. So I've got like crews and genres. And then here I go last year saying, I'm going to write the Sunday Killer. And I did it during Nano and just popped that out and just loved it so much. I just got off watching The Mentalist. I don't know if you've seen that show.
Not yet.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you to watch The Mentalist. It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime if you've got Prime Video. But
I do.
So my husband had watched it previously, and he knows how much I love, like, all the crime documentaries and everything. He was like, you're going to love this show. I fell in love with Lisbon, who is the lead, and she is a female detective. Absolutely loved her. I'm like, I want to write a female detective, Heather Moody. I want a Heather Moody, and I want serial killers and cults, and I want the case files of Heather Moody working with all these serial killer cases, right? Like she'll be called in. Like I want the Jodie Foster. I want the, I started thinking of The Silence of the Lambs, and I started thinking about all of that. It's like, you know what? For fun, I'm going to write this thriller.
Yeah.
I've never written a thriller before. I've written 20 books, but they've never been a thriller, right? It's like time travel back in 1955 and sweet romance, but I'm going to try a thriller. And so now when I reached out to you, it was that same thing. Like I know the value and the importance of connecting with people within the genre. And because now I feel like I'm a newbie, I didn't even know something like Sisters in Crime existed. Like I didn't know, like I'd never heard of it. And so I knew about the Mystery Writers of America because it's like the Romance Writers of America and all that, like the big, but like international thriller writers. So you've given me, just by us connecting, you're helping me as a newbie in the genre. Like you're showing me, look, you're doing this. Now I can go out. I know words to search.
Right.
Because I think it sometimes can be maybe overwhelming for authors. Like, well, there's so much out there, well, let's stream it down. So now my first go-to, when we get off is I'm going to start looking into some organizations instead of just SCBWI. I'm going to start trying, because I know how valuable that is for my life.
Right.
Now I'll start looking at different ones and see about North Carolina chapters and, what's around, start seeing if I can join some Facebook groups. Have you done the Facebook groups? Are you on Facebook a lot?
I am on Facebook a lot. That's probably the main place that I am. And I belong to a lot of different groups. Some of them are just ones that, me and a group of my friends started just because as a central place to ask questions and commiserate or whatever we need to do. And some of them are like MWA New York, which is the chapter that I belong to. They have a Facebook page. My Sisters in Crime chapter has one. And my publisher has a closed group, which is pretty nice for all of us that are published by them. And then my friend Maddie Dalrymple has she does this, it's called the Indie Author. It's a INDY, Indie Author, and she has a website and a podcast and a Facebook group for us. And she knows like everything about everything. So that's really super valuable to me.
Yeah, so you said you started one. I think that's hilarious because one of my author friends, she writes horror supernatural. I love horror. I told you I was reading Stephen King like really young.
Yeah.
So I love horror. I love supernatural work. And I've only written one. I wrote a YA about a teenage exorcist. So think about Buffy.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
So I wrote that one, but she's written tons. She's self-published and traditionally published. She was like, you know what? We've got to find some other supernatural horror people that we can connect with, even if we have to start our own Facebook group. And I was like, yeah. I was like, and then we can tag thriller on it because we could just say horror, thriller, supernatural. Let's bring this all together. And so we were just talking about that this week. And so we were like, well, if we can't find like the supernatural horror, I know they're out there. We just have to spend some time.
the beauty of it is if you don't find what you are looking for nowadays, you can create it yourself. So I think that's pretty cool. That's the kind of the good thing about social media now.
And speaking of, you share lovely. You are a sharer.
I am.
I love that about you because when you look at your pages, when you look at the work that you're doing, you can clearly see that you're helping other authors by what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, but really, I'm just a fan. I'm just like 100%. I'm a reader and a fan, and I get so excited about other authors and their books, and so I love doing that if I can. So, and the other thing is like, on your Facebook page or any social media, I don't want it to be like, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. So I thought if this page is going to be about books, then it should absolutely be about books that I love.
Yes.
So I really enjoy that. And I get so excited when I read. And it's so funny because like my editor or the publicist at my publisher will come to me and say, oh, would you read an arc of so-and-so's book? And I'm like, oh, they want me to read it? Oh, I get to read an early copy.
I'm the same way. I am so the same way. And then they were like, but we don't want to put too much on your plate right now. If you do, I'm like, wait, I'm reading. Like, what are you talking about? I read a book, then I read your book, and then I'm reading this book. Like, wait a minute, what's happening? No, I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I love it.
Yeah, I love to be able to read something before it comes out for some reason. Then I can, get really excited about it when it comes out.
Well, you've got that inside track, like you already know, like I love, and then you can spread it around more. And then hit share because you do so well at sharing. So to me, like, did you have any authors I know you said like Nancy Drew when you're like middle school, but now as an adult reader, like what's on your reading list? Like what are some things? Do you read only within the crime, thriller, drama type work, or do you go out?
I read mostly in it. And just because that's just what I love. I do enjoy, I'm not like a huge romance reader. I don't know. I've just always been drawn to the, bad stuff, I guess. But I really I love Dana Mason. I love Katie Metner. That's probably the only romance I could say. I mean, I'll try anything. I just read mostly in my genre because that's what I love. And then occasionally I'll read something that's just really out of just, I don't know, something like literary fiction that I might not normally read, just to get something a little bit different. But mostly I read in my genre, and I love, like Karen Slaughter is my idol.
I have to go look her up. See, I'm learning names.
Yeah, she's my like my number one. Oh my God, I've met her twice and at signings and was unable to. I mean, I said a bunch of stuff, but I don't know what it was.
When I met Nicholas Sparks,
I was sweating and it was so bad.
When I met Nicholas Sparks, I vaguely remember saying something like, you inspired me to write again as an adult. Like I said that to him after reading A Walk to Remember. I don't know if you've read that one.
Yes.
So that one really just sparked me on my trail of adult writing. But I understand that with Karen. I get you.
And I love Jennifer Hillier. I always try to get, and I've been lucky. She's just the most lovely person. Have been lucky to get advance copies of her books the last 2 or 3 times. So Karen Slaughter, Jennifer Hillier, they're my go-tos. And then Greg Hurwitz, who now writes more, his are more thrillery than mystery. But I love him. And I love Angela Marson's. She writes the Kim Stone detective series. She's out of the UK. I know it's always like my list is like 500 people long.
Well, I love how you're going on about it, because now I'm having a list over here on the right-hand side. Y'all take notes. Take notes. Listen to Lisa right now. You could drop some more, because these people like you read, you're inspired by them, and
yeah. And I mean, I love Lisa. I like Lisa Gardner, Lisa Unger. There's a lot of good Lisas out there.
Yes.
I like Sean Cosby. His latest and his hottest is Blacktop Wasteland. And the funny thing is like there was so much buzz and so much hype about it, and I couldn't wait for it to come out so I could read it. And then I read it, and I was like, all the buzz and all the hype is just like not even enough. It's not even enough. I mean, this book, I have the Kindle and the hardback, and I mean, it's just one of those books that I'm gonna come back to over and over again to learn from it. And I'm Facebook friends with him, but I have like even just messaging with him, I am so starstruck. I have a really hard time. Like I'll try to message him something. Like when his new book came out for pre-order, I sent him a little message about how excited I was, and then he replied, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Oh, and I read recently also another one, which was there wasn't enough hype about it in my estimation, was Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. That just gave me like a book hangover for days. I couldn't read anything else.
That's because it impacted you so much, like emotional roller coaster type book.
Yeah. And that's like Jennifer Hillier, she does that to me every single time. I mean, I read Jar of Hearts, which came out not 2020, I think it was 2019. And I remember I had been reading it, and then I had to go somewhere in my car, and I think I had to drop my daughter off, and I went and I dropped her off, and then I just sat in my car and read the rest of it because I couldn't wait till I got home. And I was not able to read anything else for a full month. I mean, just nothing could touch that book. And she had a new one in 2020, Little Secrets, which was, even better. So I really love those authors that, I mean, I hate losing all that reading time, but
Hey.
But when something is that good, and Sean Cosby's Blacktop Wasteland was like that for me. I was like, as soon as I finished it, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to read anything else now.
And that's when I read this book, and I was going through looking for books on my library app. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. I don't know if you've ever heard of that book.
I have it. I haven't read it yet, though.
But that's what happened to me after that.
Oh, wow.
When I read that book, I told my husband, like, how can I ever find anything that makes me pause? Like, it was like a pause in my life. And I was like, and it was just so good. That's going to be my go back to. That's going to be my go back to, just because I love character-driven stories so much. Like, I'm all about that. And I just loved Eleanor. I'm excited when that was going to come out as a movie. Like I love to know that that's coming out the works. But knowing that now I have, like, I literally, like, I have a little bubble. I make strange notes. They never go straight down in order. So I have all kinds of bubbles and check marks and everything of what you just said. I've made myself a little word cloud of all of the books, all of the authors, because that's what I'm in. I'm in my learning phase right now. Because when you first get the contract, I did my reading, I did my research, I did everything for the Sunday Killer. I felt really good about it. It's made it to this next step, but I'm still in that learning process. I'm still making my list. I still have just a packed, library card of books that are waiting in my queue as I'm just going through and just, trying. Like, I read Megan Miranda. She writes a lot more of like a YA, but when she wrote Come Find Me, I was so, like, when I'm writing in a genre, I'm trying to read what's out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do that because I do write in multiple genres. I'll be reading all kinds of romance, love, and then write love over pizza while I'm doing that. So that one's one that's just coming out. So this thriller one, I just like a newbie. It's so exciting because I have so much to look forward to.
Yeah, there's so many good books. So many good books out there.
And so that's the thing. Like, I don't look at it as a chore. I don't look at it as, oh, I've got to research this for comp titles or I need to do this. No, it's like, give me more. Like, I need the scoop. I need to know because this is like what I love. Like, do you do true crime books? Do you read any true crime?
Yes, I do. And I do love them. There was one I read I think it was last year. It was called In the Name of the Children by Jeffrey Rinnick. And I mean, it was painful, but it was really, really good and really well done. To me, the person that writes the best true crime is Greg Olsen. I love his, and every so often, because we're Facebook friends, I'll post an article on his page and be like, you should write a book about this case.
There you go. You're keeping up.
Because I know you do it really well.
So my niece, she reads only true crime. She's read everything under the sun, true crime or Stephen King. And she's like, but you know what? I've never read an adult thriller before, but yours will be the first one I read. So she's already said in line, she's going to read The Sunday Killer. I'm like, yay, nice. Yay. I'm glad because she's addicted to the true crime books. But so, yeah, I've got my list. So I just want to thank you for sharing all of your wisdom with us today. You talk about other people with a wealth of knowledge. You're walking around with a wealth of experience and knowledge. And I love that you're so willing to give back.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you for that. So tell everybody where they can find you online. Where can they find you?
Well, my website is www.lisaregan.com. It's LISAREGAN.com. And if you come, I'm on Twitter. It's at Lisa L. Regan. I'm on Instagram. I won't remember my handle now. I think it's Lisa Regan Author. But I spend most of my time and energy on Facebook just because that's where most of my readers are. And I love to hear from them. They're so enthusiastic. And so that's where they kind of hang out. So that's where I go. And you can just look up my author page. It's just Lisa Regan. And I have we do a lot of giveaways on my Facebook page and sometimes on Instagram as well. And I don't just give away my stuff. I give away, if I read a book and I love it, I'm going to give it away because I want other people to read it. So I always say to people, even if you don't read my stuff and you're not interested in what I have to say, that's cool. But you should still come to my Facebook page because you could win some really awesome books.
I give Hobbits away. I carry Hobbits around in my car. And then, so when I was doing book signings, I had a bag of Hobbits. And if people would be I was like, have you read The Hobbit? Oh, no, I haven't. Here's one. Take this one. Even if you don't read mine, just go.
Right.
Read The Hobbit. I do the same thing. I collect Hobbits wherever I go. I see Hobbits, I buy them.
That is so funny.
Pass the love on. So thank you so much for being here, Lisa. Good luck. You've got your book coming out in April. We're going to be so excited cheering you on, passing, and we're sharing it around. Guys, if you've not started the Josie Quinn, you can be just like me. You can start with book 1, Detective Josie Quinn thriller, Vanishing Girls. It is an adult book that you will not be able to put down. And thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.